Hey, 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 family. I am all right, all right. I have to cut my phone down because it's always gonna ring. Somebody gonna reach out. What am I doing? I am sharing my live on Facebook. That's what I'm doing. Relationship killers. That's what we're gonna talk about tonight, y'all. I know everybody is watching a football game. I know the brothers is watching a football game. They said, Kim, you got to do it before the football game comes on if you're going to be going live. But I just decided that I was going to go live anywho. Anywho. I said, I'm going to go live anyhow and talk to my sisters tonight, those that are not watching. Say hello, say hello. I see you watching. Say hi. You know your mama told you got to say hello when you walk up in people's house. God is so good. He is so good. He is so amazing. So, I wanted to talk tonight about relationship killers and what you could do differently. Because I know everybody talks about things to the negative, and I don't really want to be harping on that. There are some things that we could do differently if we are going to be in healthy, happy relationships. And honestly, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this because I know when my husband and I get together, there are going to be some things that is only going to be worked out when I am in relationship with my husband. It's not going to be worked out while I'm out here, while I'm in my singleness. You don't really get to see who you are and how you're showing up until you're actually in a relationship, because singleness will have you believing that you got everything on lock. That's what singleness really does. And if you're going to be honest about where you are and how you show up in the world, right? Then one of the key things that you really truly need to do is have some practice in the area of relationships, right? There are some things that you need to work on, that you can only work on when you're in the confines of a relationship. It doesn't work any other way. And so I know that we accept the love that we think that we deserve. That's what we do. We accept the love that we think we deserve. And because we do that, we usually don't think that we deserve very much in the department of partnership, right? And I'm saying this because I think that it is so, incredibly important to understand that and help you to understand that you really do accept the love that you believe you deserve. And if you believe that you do not deserve good love, to be loved full out, then you will accept whatever anybody gives you. And a lot of times it'll be beneath what you truly deserve. I'm talking about settling, y'all. I'm talking about settling. So I wanted to discuss some things that we could do about not killing our relationships by being successful in all of our relationships. Like, what are some of the things that you can do? Um, the first part, if I could say anything and anything at all, it would be to believe in yourself and think highly of yourself, right? To understand your power and who you are. And so tonight, I don't believe that my brothers are watching. I believe that this is going to be for my sisters. Hey, Opal, Patricia. I don't know why I said Opal. How you doing, my love? Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, brother Alan, I see you. I see you. How you doing? So, yeah. So when I think about relationship killers and what it does, how we behave, our behavior literally stops us from having the type of relationships that we want. It can it could just like kill your chances. And we don't always know that we are the biggest culprits in all of our relationships because it's the way in which we view ourselves, right? It's how we see ourselves. Let me start here. I'm going to start with this. Fear of intimacy is one of the biggest relationship killers. When we fear true intimacy, you know how you can meet somebody and y'all talk back to me and say hello. I see y'all watching. You know how you can meet somebody and the person could be so dope and they could be amazing and they right, they your speed, they want what you want, they're in alignment with you, and you just absolutely you're feeling them like beyond, just your normal friendship, right? And they begin to get a little bit too close to you. And a part of you starts to freak out and say, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, they too good to be true. A lot of people do that. And they fear true intimacy because what ends up happening is because they fear the intimacy, the true intimacy in a relationship, they begin to run, they back up, they begin to sabotage, they begin to do things that are not conducive for a healthy relationship, right? So a lot of people do that and they don't even understand that they do that. Can I be honest? And they're like, no, no, no. They find something wrong where there is nothing wrong, right? You can be in a relationship with a dope person, like you just met them, like they're amazing and you're amazing, right? And all of a sudden, fear envelops you and you become afraid. And you say, wait a minute, do I deserve? Do I deserve to have somebody love me like this? Or you're waiting for the other shoe to drop because this is too good to be true, right? It's too good to be true. And a lot of times, what people will do because they fear that level of intimacy is they will sabotage any hopes of the relationship flourishing because they really genuinely do not believe that anybody can love them like that, right? And so I've done it. I'm gonna tell y'all, I've done it. I'm be like perfectly honest. In my past, I have done it. I've been so afraid that I put on track shoes. Like, yeah, I say track shoes, but sneakers. I keep sneakers on. And I love me some Nikes. So I will put on, I always got me a nice pair of Nikes on, some Air Max or some, the other ones, the Air Force ones or something, because I will run in a New York Minute. I used to would do that. I would find a reason, I would find an excuse, and I would sabotage the relationship somehow, some kind of way, right? It would be something I said, something I did, stop paying attention to them, stop making them important, like they matter, right? I used to do it, and I know what it is. It kills relationships. I'm not 30 anymore and I'm not doing that anymore. But what I will say to you is if you want your relationships to work, you got to ask yourself why you keep doing that. You have to ask yourself the question, why am I running? Why am I afraid? You have to get to the root of why have the posture that you have when it comes down to relationships, right? Because a lot of us, we just inadvertently destroy it because we don't think that another person has the capacity to love us. But when you love yourself and you show up confidently, you render a totally different result. You get a totally different result. You get more and more people wanting to love you, wanting to help you, wanting to be a blessing to you, whatever it is. It's really based on your energy because you think, and sometimes, it's not always just you, but even the other person can be afraid to be in a relationship because they may think that you're too good to be true, right? And so what you have to say to them is don't run. Like, we're going to work through it and we're going to work through it all. But if you are the one that is struggling and you're the one that's sabotaging your relationships, if you're the one that is finding it difficult to enter into a relationship with anyone, then you have to check your own heart space. You have to check your own heart space because there's something that you're doing, right? It's a reason why you feel the way that you feel. Why do you feel that way about yourself? What's going on in your heart and your head, right? So one of the first things that, I wrote down is, you have to say to yourself, you ready to work through this, right? Because you can't just quit. You can't just, you're giving up on yourself more than you're giving up on another person. You're saying, I don't have the capacity to do this for myself. But if you want to work through this, if you want to have a healthy, happy relationship, then you've got to start doing things differently. So one of the first things I wrote down is, what happened to you that made you feel like this is like you have to be this way? What happened? Somebody left you? Somebody didn't appreciate you? Somebody treated you badly? What did they do to you? And what are you not forgiving yourself for? What are you not allowing yourself to enter into? Like, what is going on in your heart space that is blocking you from having the relationship that you truly desire? Why are you afraid of true intimacy? Why are you afraid to have that in your life? And you have to ask yourself that question. You have to get to the root of what it is that's troubling you in your heart that makes you run away from somebody that's good for you and good to you. Think about that, right? The other thing is to deal with it head on. As I said to you earlier, and I said earlier, you cannot work these things out in a bubble. You have actually got to be in relationship to work through these things. And one of the things that, if you're looking, at different, what you want and what you need a partner that's willing to sit down with you, to talk to you, to have hard conversations with you. You need a partner that's going to say to you, look, we in this together and we're going to work through this, right? Everybody wants that partner who understands them. And for the record, that's not everybody. Everybody's not going to get you. Everybody's not going to understand your logic. Everybody's not going to understand how you feel. Y'all should share this video out for me. Those that are watching, share it out, share it out. But everybody's not going to get you. Everybody is not going to understand why you think the way that you do. But the only way to work through that is actually by being in a relationship. I'm sure you dope. You amazing. You wonderful. You by yourself. But get into a relationship and be willing to do the work that is necessary in order to build that relationship. I will never forget this as long as I live. And it's not a blight. It's not a blight on the person themselves. But one day I was having like a whole meltdown, right? And I was talking to one of my friends. And I was like hysterical crying. And he looked at me. He's like, Kim, I can't watch you cry. Like, I can't. And I was like, this is not about you. This is about me. Hey, sis, I see you. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, baby. And I said, this is not about you. We had a conversation later. He's like, I'm going to take the air conditioners downstairs. I got to go to work. He left. He's like, I can't watch you cry. So, like, seriously, that told me a lot. It wasn't the worst thing. It wasn't the worst thing. He just said, it breaks my heart to see you cry. I can't do that. I can't watch you cry, right? I can't watch you hurt. And I said, but this wasn't about you. So, having somebody in your life, even if it's your friends, who doesn't have the capacity to hold you when you're in the middle of a crisis in your life, that's not good for you. You need somebody that can talk to you and help you to work through whatever it is. And I don't care what relationship it is, to be honest with you. It could be a good friendship. It could also be a romantic relationship. But if that person doesn't have the capacity to hold you, meaning have hard conversations, to hear you out, to listen to how you feel, then chances are that person is not the person for you. They're not ready for you. They can't handle what it is that's going on in your life. I am not And this is, for every person watching. We are not like these hardened, especially as women. We sometimes we have things going on and we lose our composure and we can be emotional over them. We're not always stoic. We're not always, afraid to allow tears to flow from our eyes. I've had grown men collapse in my arm in tears in my arms because they've been hurting and they don't have a safe place to recluse. They don't have a person that they can talk to. And I prayed with them and I've talked them off of ledges. I've grown men who have come to me and spoken to me and emptied out their hearts to me because they don't have a safe place. Their woman should be their safe place. They should be able to do that with their woman. And so a lot of men don't have that, and they'll find, I'm in a capacity of a coach. I'm in the capacity of my ministry. So men feel like they can talk to me and tell me anything. Right? Which is amazing to me. And I love the fact that God is using me in that way. But if I have a moment, I need a man who is strong enough to hold me when I'm having my moment and understand that every time I have a moment, it's not about me and you, and it's not about me trying to cuss you out or tell you off or make you feel it. No, there are some times that I just need a safe place to recluse. And I believe that every woman and every man need the same thing, right? And aside from God being our safe place and, and allowing the Spirit of the Lord to lead us and guide us, like aside from that, human interaction is what we need. We need to be held. We need to be loved. We need to be encouraged and supported. And you need a partner who can do that for you. Right? And not every person has the capacity to hold you. So every person is not for you. But if you don't learn to open up and allow yourself to be vulnerable, you will consistently kill relationships because it is necessary that we open up and show who we are authentically. Right? This is important stuff. If you can't be yourself with your man or your woman in a romantic relationship, then what other place do you have? That's how the enemy creeps in to our relationships. Now, had I been a floozy, it's a lot of brothers. Had I been loose, it's a lot of brothers I could have, but that's how the enemy gets in. Don't give a woman or another man an opportunity to be better to your partner than you are. Don't ever do that. It for sure will kill your relationship. And one of the other things that we need to work on collectively and individually, especially in this social media with all of this toxic femininity and this toxic masculinity that is out here today. One of the other things is we have to learn how to be better communicators. We have to work on our communication skills. You cannot do that outside of a relationship. You could practice with your children. You could practice with your sisters and your brothers. You could practice with your friends. But where it really matters is in your marriage. Where it really matters is in your romantic relationships. And if you don't know how to talk to the king or the queen in your partner, then that relationship is not going to work, or it's going to be chaotic. The Bible specifically says that we ought to learn our spouses. You have to learn them. You have to learn their language. You have to learn how to speak to them. You have to learn how to encourage and support them. If you don't, it will kill your relationship. So what do? You practice. For all of the years that I have not been in a serious relationship, I talk to my sons a certain way. I literally talk to them. I say thank you. I always say how much I appreciate them. I always encourage them. My daughter too. I always encourage them. Every time I talk to them, I tell them how amazing and wonderful I think they are. Right? And they don't live at home, but even when they were home, I always said thank you. And I do that specifically with my sons because I don't want my sons to be in a relationship with a woman that does not know how to talk to them. And when they see signs of a woman not talking to them properly, they will run in the other direction because they've been treated better by their own mother. No, we are not doing disrespect up in here. So because I want other people to treat my children with respect, I treat them with respect. I talk to them with loving kindness. And I didn't always do this. So I don't want to act like I've somehow arrived because I didn't always do that. I learned to do that. And so I practice in my relationship. When I get off the phones with my friends or my family, I always say, I love you because I want them to know how I feel about them. And because I try my best to walk in love and be loving and kind to people. I'm not always loving and I'm not always kind. I don't want to paint a crazy picture. But because I have my moments, y'all. I have my moments. I ain't always flowing in the flow. But I'm saying this to you because it is important to practice, even if you're not in a relationship, so that by the time you get in a relationship, you're already operating in the flow of love. You're already operating in the flow of service and kindness, right? People do not realize and recognize that they've married not to be served, but to serve. When you get married, you're there to serve. And that's for both men and women. And I always hear the thing about submission. I'm off topic right now, but I always hear the thing about submission. Hi, Alicia, Michelle, I see you. I see you, sis. Hey, Tanya, I see you, baby. You know, people don't realize that's the whole point of the relationship. I'm here to serve you. What can I do to help you? And when you have two people that have that objective, the relationships work. Because I realize that my biggest goal for the day is to serve my partner, to make them breakfast in bed, to treat them well. But I first have to work those things out within myself. So I've got to learn how to communicate better. And again, you don't learn all of this stuff outside of a relationship. You learn it when you're in a relationship. Relationships are meant to help you to get better. That is God's little way of sharpening us. You know, iron sharpens iron. And that's the truth. Who are you being? How are you going to show up in that relationship? Are you going to show up differently in this new beautiful relationship where this person is loving you and treating you well and doing all the things that you really want them to do? Or are you going to come in with the old stuff, with the old pain, the old hurt, or all the old heartache? Like, what are you going to do? What can you do differently this time? What can you do differently today? Right? If you're in a relationship and things haven't been, exactly where you wanted them to be, how do you show up in that relationship? Because it only takes 1 second to change your mind. It only takes a second to change your heart. Like you literally are married to this person. Like if you're married, right? And things have been rocky, how do you change it? So you wanna do things differently moving forward. You want to be blessed moving forward. You want your relationship to be blessed. And who does that start with? It starts with the person who is listening to this message. It starts with them. Grab your spouse and tell your spouse to listen to it with you. Grab the person that you love and tell them to listen to it with you. It should always be about service, learning one another, learning to communicate with one another. Learning that you can't address things via text message that are serious, because this is a serious conversation. You can't have a whole conversation via text message. That's another thing that people do today that, is absolutely ridiculous when you're dealing with somebody that you love. Sometimes you just have to be bold enough to sit down and express how you genuinely feel. And if you do not learn how to communicate, you're going to kill your relationship. And this is real talk. If you're not honest with your partner, if you don't express the way that you feel, and you think you could just sit there and just tolerate and tolerate and tolerate and just keep dealing with foolishness, trust me when I tell you, it doesn't work over the long haul. Because you feel slighted And after a while, you'll just give up. Your spirit is so beat up when you keep giving and you keep doing things and you never speak your truth. You never tell people how you genuinely feel. You're just trying to go along to get along. That doesn't help your relationship to work. It literally kills your relationship, right? Because you need somebody who's going to be honest with you. You need people to be honest with you, and you need to create a safe space so you can be honest with your partner. Open up to them. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Because when you don't do that, everybody be trying to keep the peace in the beginning. That's why people say, oh, I met the representative, right? Oh, that was just a representative. Because you weren't honest. You was like, oh, yeah, I'm into that. No, you're not. Be truthful about how you feel. And stop just trying to win somebody's love and affection temporarily. Because if that's all it's going to be is temporary, if you're not honest. And you can't have these conversations via text message. You got to be bold enough to pick up the phone and say how you feel to your partner. And it's the truth. It's the gospel truth, I promise. I promise. A lot of people are into this whole text messaging business like that's the truth. No. I mean, it's good for record keeping, but it never tells the tenor of the text. You don't feel the emotion behind a text message. You don't even know if they're happy or sad based on a text message. So yeah, we have to, absolutely have to learn how to communicate with our partners. We have to be honest, and we have to have the courage to have hard conversations, or it will not work. Because I'd love to tell you that, marriage, and hey, Tony, I see you, my love. I see you. I would love to tell you that marriage and relationships are easy, but they're not. They're not. They're absolutely not. There's going to require a certain level of courage and determination and leaning in and being determined not to just let your relationship fall to the wayside as if you don't care. I know we are, women and men of a certain age, right? And I don't want to do this again. I want I want this to be my next relationship, to be my forever love. And I pray that also for all of you, that we have the courage to stand on and in our truth, and to speak it when it is necessary with loving kindness towards one another. The other thing that's really important is you got to stop thinking that your partner is supposed to just figure things out, like just because they're supposed to know better. That's not fair. Nobody is a mind reader. You're not a mind reader, neither are they. So if there's something going on, my recommendation would be to everybody who wants to be in a relationship, and you may want to really write this down to think about, right? My recommendation is that you genuinely do check-ins with each other, if not once a week, once every 2 weeks. Because nobody knows, like, you can't guess your way through things. You have to have something concrete. You have to have something concrete. You have to say, I genuinely feel like this, and I'm letting you know because I don't want you to have to read my mind. You know how when we get upset sometimes and somebody asks us what's wrong, we like, nothing. Nothing's wrong. Men do it too. Like, nothing's wrong, right? No. Tell them what's really going on, and don't expect them to read your mind. And you don't have to be aggressive about explaining yourself or saying how you feel. But people cannot, hey, Yana, I see you, my love. I see you. Yeah, but honestly, do you think people can really read your mind and they should know better? People weren't raised like you. Everybody doesn't know how you give it up, how you get down, how you live. Everybody doesn't know that a certain or particular thing would bother you, right? You have to know your limits. You have to know where to draw the line. You have to know what's important to you, and you have to convey that, and you have to be honest and open about how you feel. Another thing that people do that's a relationship killer is they avoid, or they have an avoidant personality because they do not like conflict and confrontation. You cannot avoid your way to success. Yes, hi, I see you. How are you? I love you. I'm so glad to see you here. Right? You can't avoid your way to success. Success only comes when you dig your heels in. When you say, listen, like we have to really have a sit down and we have to talk about this. And a lot of times we avoid confrontation because we fear letting people in and we fear being vulnerable and we fear, so we avoid and we think we can have a relationship on the outskirts. No, you cannot have a relationship on the outskirts. You have got to have the relationship leaning all the way in, all the way in, saying, listen, I want us to win. And because I want us to win, I have to say this to you. And say it with a loving heart. Say it with a loving heart. Say it with kindness, like you talking to your boss, right? People who pay you, because some people treat their employers better than they treat their spouses. They do a tap dance for their bosses and stuff, but the employers no. But their spouses and stuff, they treat them horribly, horribly. You ever notice that people who are in relationships, sometimes this is not everybody, but sometimes women treat other people and men treat both treat other people better than they treat their own spouse. Like they be like, oh, I'll cook you dinner. Oh, I'll do this for you. Oh, I'll come and pick you up and take you to the hospital. But if your partner asks you to do something, you be like, oh, I ain't got time. You ever know there's people like that. And I always wonder how do they expect that to work over the long haul. I always wondered that. I would see it. I would see people, treat people a certain way, and I was like, and I would just make a mental note of it. Because how do you expect your relationship to be successful if you treat your partner, if you treat your employer better than you treat your man, or better than you treat your woman? No, that don't work. We need to be cognizant of what we're doing all the time in our relationships and make our relationships a priority and be intentional about them. That's how we do things differently, right? The other thing that is a relationship killer, quietly on the low, is insecurity and overanalyzing. Those two things will kill your relationship in 30 seconds. Because if you're insecure and you don't have confidence in yourself, and you believe every woman that walk by can take your man, or every man that come by can take your woman. Somebody said to me, Kim, you call everybody baby. You call everybody baby. I said, yeah, but I don't call my man baby. He got a whole different name. And yeah, I do, because that's part of who I am. I'll be like, hey, sugar, hey, baby, hey, my love, hey, this, hey, that. Because I really believe that is warm to people who other people don't even look at them, period. And there's a lot of brothers that struggle with that. My homeboys be like, yo, you call everybody baby. My homeboys say that to me. Like, I always thought I was special, Kim. I'm like, no, you are. You're special to me, right? But my man wouldn't get that. And if you're insecure and you can't handle the fact that somebody has a big personality or something like that, that could be a problem. And over analyzing everything that a person does, and making so much of it, you're making a mountain out of a molehill, that does not help you. That is a relationship killer. You kill your relationship by being too overly analytical. Everything is not about you. Every word that they say, everything that they post, is not about you. And we have to be clear about that. Everything doesn't have to be personal. There's this book that I was reading. I'm gonna tell y'all about. I love this book. I absolutely love it. I have to find it because it. Um, Hold on, I'm gonna find the book because I think that this is a really, really good book for people to read. Um, it'll help you. Oh, I can't find it. I got it in my. I got so many books in my It's a really, really, really good book. Is it Atomic Habits? I think it's Atomic Habits. And it says, don't take anything personal. I'm not reading it, but take nothing personal. Because a lot of times we take so many things so personal that it, like, no matter what anybody says to us, they can say to us, well, I didn't, baby, I really didn't enjoy that restaurant you took me to tonight. Like, oh, you just don't enjoy nothing, and you take it personal. No, they just didn't enjoy the food. It's okay. You don't have to be let down by that. You don't have to let that, you don't have to overanalyze that as a hit to you as you are as a person. That just means they didn't like the restaurant. And I know that some people will take things so personally and then overanalyze it and literally destroy their marriage and literally destroy their relationship. And they can have a dope relationship. And because somebody told you they didn't like something, now you're all out of sorts. You don't realize that that's tearing your relationships apart. And so you have to give some grace. You have to give space and grace for your relationship to grow. And you have to be open to hear things that may be a little bit uncomfortable for you to hear sometimes. And everything doesn't have to be a fight. Everything doesn't have to be a fight. Some stuff is just a conversation and it's just facts. And sometimes we let our feelings get in the way of the facts. Sometimes that's what we do. And we have to be careful not to destroy our relationships because we in our emotions and all caught up in our feelings, and because I felt like this and I felt like that. Because sometimes you feel like a nut and sometimes you don't. You know that commercial? So you're going to let everything, every wind that blows, knock you off your square? No, we got to be a little bit tougher than that. So here's my advice to everybody that's listening. Ask yourself, what's at the root of your insecurity? Where does it come from? Who told you you weren't beautiful enough? Who made you feel like you was less than? Who made you feel like you weren't important? Where did you get that from? When you were a kid, did they tell you to shut up and be quiet? Like your opinion didn't matter? Is that where your insecurity comes from? Is it because when you was in school and you was in the third grade, somebody told you that you was ugly and you still holding on to that? Is that why you're insecure and you don't think you're enough? What's at the root of that? Because it's usually not anything that happened in our adulthood. It's usually something that happened when we were children. And it's still shaping us to this day. And we still believe it. We don't believe that we're enough. And the other thing is you have to journal about how you feel and why you feel the way that you feel. Write it down and begin to separate the wheat from the tare. Because there are some things that don't even belong to you. That was somebody else's demons, and they tried to tell you about who they thought you was and who you not and all of this other stuff. Separate the wheat from the tare. Who are you really? At your core, do you understand your power? Do you understand what you bring to the table as a woman or a man? Do you understand how amazing you are? And when you begin to understand that, you begin to become confident and less insecure, and you stop overanalyzing stuff and separating your fears from the facts. That's what you have to do. You have to separate the facts from the fear and how you feel. Because a lot of times, it's not really what happened. It's just how we feel about what happened. And sometimes we don't always recognize that. Like, oh, they said such and such to me. And you say it with such tenacity and you be so angry and hurt. And you're always, that kind of thing. That you got to separate your feelings from what actually happened from the facts. Right? So that's another thing we got to do. And you have to ask yourself, Where do these feelings come from? And you have to dig down and get to the root of what's going on inside of you. And here's something else you have to absolutely pay attention to. Does your partner reassure you in your moments of crisis, or do they let you sit there and wallow in it by yourself? Are they supportive of you? Do they encourage you? Do they say, babe, we got this? Do you feel like you're a team? There are some things that you can do differently. There are some things that you're going to have to do differently in order to be successful in your relationships. Sometimes it's just about who you chose to be in a relationship with. Period. And when you love yourself more and you do things differently, you choose differently. When you're confident, you choose differently. When you learn how to communicate and articulate how you feel better, you choose differently. And people listen to you differently when you're confident. When you no longer have a fear of intimacy and you're not afraid to show up and be all that you're called to be in that relationship, you do things differently. You meet different people, your energy changes, you shift. You then become a different person within yourself, right? Because you're not the same old person that you were before. You're speaking your truth. You're showing up strong, right? You're confident in who you are as a man or a woman. You're sure about what it is that you want. You're clear about that, right? And you're not afraid or intimidated by anybody, because you know that if the person can't handle what you're saying when you speak your truth, chances are that person is not the person for you. If you can't open up and be vulnerable, then you have no business being with them. You need a safe place. You need a place to recluse, someone who understands you, someone who has the capacity to hold you when you're crying, whether it's about them or not. Yeah, that part. Listen, I love you guys like cook food. I'm out of here. I'm about to go and chill out and get some rest. I have a wedding to go to tomorrow. I had a whole lot of things to do today, but I wanted to go live because I haven't gone live all week. And I wanted to also tell y'all about my Unlocking Your Love class. I hold my Unlocking Your Love class once a week. It is dope. We are working on a whole lot of things like this: setting boundaries, knowing who you are, knowing what you want in your life. And so if you want to be a part of my Unlocking Your Love class, inbox me, let me know. I will send you the information about the class, and we meet every Tuesday at 8 p.m. or 7. I forgot. I think it's 8. It's 8 o'clock. We meet every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. I have so much going on. But yeah, and what it's doing is all about our personal growth and development. Start learning how to communicate. Start learning how to love yourself. Start learning how to set boundaries, and doing it all in love, because that's the difference. That's the difference. I'm not yelling and screaming and telling nobody, you got to do that. I'm not doing none of that, because I don't have to. I could do whatever I need to do in love and with kindness, being supportive and encouraging towards other people, and still setting my boundaries for what I want for my life. I absolutely can do that, and so can you. So yes, if you're interested in being in my Unlocking Your Love class, please join me. Send me an inbox and be a part of it. I'm telling you, it's life-changing. I've posted testimonies from the people that are in my class, and their lives are changing, and they are evolving, and they bring me to absolute tears of joy because of their personal growth and development. Listen, I love y'all like cook food. Y'all have a good night, and hopefully I will talk to y'all soon. Y'all be blessed here. I love y'all.